Hi, and welcome to my brand new YouTube channel, The Intuitive Composer, otherwise thought about as intuitive composing, or what I like to call the what comes next composer. So, what's this all about? I have been composing music for the last 5 years, and to set the stage, I had the opportunity when I graduated high school and entered university to become an orchestral musician and decided to wait, get a degree, and see what happened. So, I spent the next 45 years teaching and practicing family medicine. I've been retired since May. I've been composing music for the last 5 years, and I put in my 10,000 hours by now. I'm not trying to sell you anything. This is just for the pure joy and enjoyment of musical composition. I would also say that if you are the kind of composer who needs to have a theme written for a theater piece done by Tuesday at 2 o'clock, this is not the YouTube channel for you. Well, it might be. You might be interested in this for other reasons. But I am not trying to create music on a schedule here. I'm trying to create things that come from within me and that are a reflection of the kinds of thoughts, feelings, emotions, images that have grabbed my attention. And I'm not trying to do it on a deadline because although I work well with deadlines, and most of my professional career, when I set deadlines, I got things done. I find deadlines are deadly in this particular case. I really want to be able to produce the music that feels right. So, what is intuitive composing? For me, this is an idea that's developed out of the way I've been doing composing in the first place. Well, let me back up the truck, and you'll understand why I'm doing this in a minute. But I have been a musician pretty much since the age of 4, when my father sat me on his knee and sang Gilbert and Sullivan's greatest hits with the music in front of him and pointed out as the music went up and down and taught me how to read the notes. And I've been studying and playing music all my life. I took piano as a child and a teenager. I played French horn. I played folk instruments during the years when I was raising children. And music has been part of the fabric of my life since age 4. So I'm really just an amateur who's trying to get better. So another way to look at intuitive composing is to think of it as being improvisational. And I know that sounds scary because improvising is something that doesn't really come naturally, I would think. But if you can whistle a tune, then you can improvise. And goodness knows I've been whistling the soundtrack of my life for many, many, many years, often driving the people around me crazy. In order to be able to improvise, there has to be an intuitive understanding of the structure of music. Let me do this by analogy. In order to speak English, I don't think about what is the grammar I'm using, what are the sentence structures. Am I putting dangling participles? Are the clauses in the right order? Do the nouns come before the verbs? Do the verbs come before the nouns, as may happen in different languages and so on? I just speak. So do you. We just speak. And when a child learns a language, they don't learn the grammar. They don't learn the syntax as a discipline. They learn it as a way of understanding and intuiting what the language is. And so when a child's first words come out, they get the grammar and the syntax wrong, and they don't make the sentence structures perfectly. And as they go on listening to language, their language improves. And it's the same thing with music. There is a structure to it. And if you go back and analyze a piece of music, you can apply the understanding of the structure. You can say, these are inverted chords. This is the key. He's using this kind of harmony. Here's the rules of counterpoint and so on. But in the creative process, in the generative process, we don't use those rules as a way of creating the music. Now, at least I don't. Some people do. I'll give you an example. There is another way of composing by taking a small fragment of music, which is called a motif. And the person most famous for doing that was Beethoven. And what you do with a motif is that you repeat it and develop it. And in Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, the most famous motif ever, that's what he did throughout the whole 4 movements of the symphony. The motif is ta-ta-ta-tum. That's all. Ta-ta-ta-tum. And he uses that over and over and over again. It's not the notes, it's the rhythm. And he uses it everywhere. And he was the master, and I find that is inspirational. But I tried to work that way, and I became mechanistic. I would reverse the notes, I would reverse the rhythms, and so on. And I didn't find that the process came from within, it came from without. So I don't do it that way. I sit down at the piano keyboard and I open my DAW to the sort of sketch pad of instruments that I use and just start composing. And in order to do that, I end up starting to think about an idea, an emotion, a feeling, an image, something that is inspirational, and then just almost close my eyes and let the music happen. So after you start playing, what you end up with is a patch of music. And when you're playing and improvising like that, I don't pay any attention to what the tempo markings are. I don't have a metronome set. I basically just start working with whatever comes to hand as I'm playing the keyboard. I'm not a particularly good keyboardist. It doesn't really matter because once you have that first musical idea laid down, and it may be 5 seconds or 30 seconds or a minute or even 5 minutes, then you have a chance to sit down, edit what you have, and think. The editing process means that I take out some of the missed notes, some of the times when I've repeated things, been started again. Sometimes I quantize it a little bit to make sure that it's a little bit more regular and so on. And then I listen to it. And then the next question is, what comes next? So let's do this by way of example. I've got Reaper open to my standard orchestral template, and I'm just going to play with the BBC Orchestra core string patches. I'm going to set them to record so that I can get my MIDI information in. And I'm just going to play on a theme. So what I've been thinking about recently is mystery, the mystery of the cosmos. I've been reading about the origins of the universe and the Big Bang Theory, and I am intrigued by the mystery of it all. So I'm going to try and do a theme about mystery. And you're going to see this warts and all. I've never done this before. I have no idea what's going to come out. So let's just see what happens. I'm going to set the levels. Just a second. Okay, here we go. And there it is. Let's take a look. Now, there's nothing record. Oh my heavens, I forgot to push the record button over here. And ordinarily that would be a fatal mistake, but not with Reaper, because Reaper has something called a retrospective record. So if I simply highlight all these tracks and I go to my retrospective record button, there it is. Everything I've recorded without pushing the record button and without the anxiety of thinking, oh my gosh, I'm recording now. So let's listen back and hear what we've got. Well, interestingly, there were a couple of mistakes, but they turned out to be happy accidents. I wasn't intending to do that, but I kind of like what came out of that. So that's the idea. Then what I'm going to do is to go back and edit this. You'll notice that each of the MIDI item is identical for each of the instruments. Well, the violins, for instance, let's just open the violins, they can't play all the way down here. So what I've done is I have taken the string patch that had all the MIDI notes in one item and disambiguated it into first violins, second violins, violas, cellos, and basses. And let's see what we have. I'm going to highlight them all and bring them up in the MIDI editor, and let's start at the beginning and listen. Okay, those are the notes where we were doing the calibration, so I'm going to remove all of those. We don't need them. So now let's listen. Starting over here. Well, the first thing I hear is that the violins, these two notes, the sort of drones, are too loud, and I think they should be tremolo. So I'm going to change them. This is not a how-to video. I'm going to do it quickly, and I will be showing how to do this in another video. Too loud, so I'm going to make them softer. Much better. Well, I think the cello could be doing something a little bit more interesting, so I'm going to add a dissonant note up over here instead of just having it fade off. So stick that in about there and have it cut off about there, and maybe extend this note backwards so that it starts at the same time. All right. More mysterious. And now it resolves. Another mysterious chord. Okay, so this viola note is not loud enough. Let's go and fix it. In general, violas tend to be a little bit on the soft side, so let's just bring them up like that. And let's listen to see what happens. There we go. And so the next thing I think should happen is just a moment of silence. And then what do I do to react to that? So I'm going to go back into my recording session of Reaper and see what comes up next, but I need a moment's thought first. That's a moment of silence. And now a different instrument. I wonder what instrument I should bring in at this point. And I think the most effective instrument to bring in might be a harp. So there we go. And there's the harp. Let's put the harp on to record. Again, I have to use the retrospective recording function. We'll put it in about over there just for the sake of argument. Recent. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Okay, that's a start. That'll give you an idea. I'm not sure I like that. It doesn't really matter. This just gives you an idea of what happens next. And the approach that I take to doing this, which is to react to what's there. What I would probably do next is figure out another part that goes along with that, maybe harmonizes with it, give it some counterpoint, adds a different set of rhythms. I might do something with the melody that's there, or change the rhythmic character of it. And so it would go for the whole piece, always keeping in mind that the theme of this piece is mystery. And how will I know when it's done? Stick around. The ultimate question then is, how do you know you're done? And the ultimate answer to that is, you are never done. But at a certain point, better is the enemy of good enough. And you listen to it, and you let your friends, family, or some trusted partner listen to it and get some feedback. Or you join a composers group like I have done. I've joined the Toronto Ravel Society, which is a group of mainly film composers, as it turns out, but where we do score study and we critique each other's work with an eye to giving important feedback, not just encouragement. And I find that's an extremely important process. And you will know you're done when you actually put it out for somebody to listen to. And if the feedback you get is honest feedback, you get is, wow, that sounds terrific, then you're done. And if the feedback you get is, wow, have you considered this, that, or the next thing, then you have some more work to do. At some point, you will look at it and say, enough. This is good enough. I'm ready to put this out there. And then you put it out there. Stay tuned. There'll be lots more coming. I don't know on what schedule. This is more difficult to do and takes longer than I thought. But I will see you at the next video. And thank you for watching.